So the Pelicans did not trade Lonzo. He was rumored for the Bulls, the Knicks, and now there's a conversation about his future with the team and his restricted free agency and all that nice stuff. The first thing I want to think about, though, is like, what could the Pelicans have gotten? I mean, we don't know for a fact. With the Bulls, given that they already traded 2 picks for Vooch, would not have made a lot of sense for them to trade more picks, and I don't think it would have made sense for them to trade Patrick Williams for Lonzo. I mean, I guess they could have, but I wouldn't have done it. So then at that point, it's like, well, maybe the Pelicans could have got Kobe White or Markkanen or Satoransky. And at that point, I think it's fine to just hold on to Lonzo. If we think about what the Knicks could have offered, I mean, I doubt you would have gotten any players to be really excited about on the Knicks. So then at that point, it would have been a draft pick thing, and not really sure the Knicks would be willing to give up any of their own picks or the Dallas picks. So not sure their offer would have been that great. In the case of Denver, because they were also rumored, they went for Gordon. They made their move there. So just not sure the Pelicans could have gotten that great of an offer for Lonzo. Now, there was also a thing how they were looking to include Adams or Bledsoe in a deal with Lonzo to incentivize a different team to take on those guys as money. And maybe that could have hurt their chances of finding a move, but at the same time, I still don't know if there was a great move there. And so now you think about Lonzo's restricted free agency. That's the next thing coming up. We're just going to have to see, man. I mean, the Knicks wanted him, and they've got a chance to go for him in the offseason. They got a whole lot of cap space, and they don't have many guys who they're going to have to re-sign. Although they are going to have to worry about Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson's contracts after next season, and then the year after that it's RJ Barrett, so they need to care a bit about it, but still, they've got some leeway here, and if they really want Lonzo, they can throw a near, or perhaps even over, $20 million a year offer at him. Now, personally, I think Lonzo is about a $15 million player, but with restricted free agency, if you don't overpay, you're probably not going to get the guy. And we'll have to see if the Pelicans are comfortable with matching that kind of an offer. Now, it could be less, it could be more. If we look at the Pelicans' salary situation, while I'm sure they would love to get off of Adams and Bledsoe's contracts, they do still have a bit of breathing room to where, let's say they gave Lonzo $16 a year. They would actually still have a bit of space until they got to the luxury tax, and they could even be able to re-sign Josh Hart to a smaller deal, definitely. So they've got some options. There's, of course, other teams who are going to have some cap space. There's San Antonio. We'll have to see what happens with DeMar. Would they really want Lonzo? I don't know. They do have a good amount of guards and wings. Would they like the fit of Lonzo next to DeJounte? Don't know. OKC, if Presti wants to make that sort of a move now, but it also depends on who they draft. If we think about Chicago, who was the other team rumored for Lonzo, the Bulls, of course, took on some money with the Vooch trade. They're also going to be paying Aminu $10 million next season. And the specifics of the Bulls trying to sign Lonzo, it's a little complicated because they've also got Markkanen's free agency, and Markkanen's got a cap hold, and that hurts their chances there. Thad Young and Satoransky and Arcidiakono's contracts could be declined. They should probably keep Thad Young, but they could save money that way. If they really want to get off of more money, they could try to trade Troy Brown or maybe even Kobe White. Sparing you the confusing details, basically the chances of them having Markkanen and Lonzo next year, not impossible, but pretty low. And also, if Markkanen is gone, then that would open up the probably 18 to 20-something million they would need to offer Lonzo. So we'll just see. I mean, the Karnisovas, he made his first big swing, and he's probably going to make more in this offseason. But even so, the Bulls are a little tighter against the cap than the Knicks are. I mean, the Knicks could control really anyone's free agency, but especially Lonzo if they choose to. Now, of course, there's also the potential of a sign and trade, but that means every team in the league gets involved, so I'm not going to try to speculate on that one. To think about just Lonzo and the Pelicans a little bit more, I mean, a lot of this is obvious, but he's a good fit, especially if he's making his threes. I mean, the chemistry with Zion is great. I think if they lost Lonzo, their lack of passing would suddenly become really obvious. I mean, sure, Ingram and Zion are good, and Kyra Lewis has potential to be something, we'll see. But Lonzo's just different as a passer compared to those guys, in my opinion. So I think they should be willing to match up until around probably about $20 million a year, and then I think you start to think about it. Even then, if they do it, I'm not going to think it's the worst thing in the world. But the Pelicans as a whole, they do need to still figure some things out. I mean, Bledsoe seems to be declining faster than anybody in the NBA. I mean, the guy was pretty good even last regular season, so I just don't know with him. I mean, his contract is, I think, up after next season because there's a partial guarantee that they would love to decline. I think it would be smart for them to try to get Kyra Lewis in there more than Bledsoe because, I mean, Bledsoe's so bad right now, it's like, okay, let Kyra Lewis make his rookie mistakes. At least you might be better off for it in the long term. In the case of Steven Adams, so yeah, Adams is definitely not the ideal center for today's game. I still think you can win with him. The contract is bad, no doubt, but I don't think he's the worst of their problems. I mean, sure, in a perfect world, you could find some 3-and-D center to play next to Zion, but even as we have progressed into 2021 NBA, there's still not that many good 3-and-D centers. I mean, Brook Lopez was that guy for one season. Serge Ibaka is already declining from last year with the Raptors. Horford, I mean, how long does he have left? And even if you want him, you got to commit to a pretty bad contract. I mean, maybe Miles Turner is your one real option, but I don't think the Pacers should look to move him, and also his three-point shooting is a little overrated. I mean, he's shooting 33% from outside right now. I mean, maybe you can bring Dwayne Dedmon out of free agency and hope that you can get the guy from like 2 years ago on the Hawks. And the other thing to think about with the Pelicans is at what point do they just kind of go all in and make a trade for somebody? I mean, they've got all these picks. They got Kyra Lewis, they got Jackson Hayes, they got Alexander Walker, Josh Hart, Lonzo. I mean, there's a chance they could trade Ingram if, like, Bradley Beal becomes available. But until that sort of thing presents itself, I think they just need to do a good job of getting two-way guys. As obvious as that sounds. You could say that for every single team in the league, but that's what it is. Like, you've got the top-end talent. You got Zion and Ingram. And so then at that point, it's just, is the floor spaced? Is the defense good? And to be honest, even if they don't make a move, if Eric Bledsoe just simply stops playing, I feel like the answer to both of those questions immediately gets a little better. So maybe it's just a matter of pull him from the rotation and suddenly the team looks better. Now, that said, I don't think Stan Van is going to do that. Now, as I say that, he did have the guts to buy out Josh Smith at one time, so maybe he'll realize that Bledsoe just sucks, and he'll pull him. But I doubt it. Unless they fall out of playoff contention. I mean, as of right now, they're 2 games out of the play-in tournament, and they're only a half game ahead of the Thunder, so it's a big old mess of teams in there.